Lyles trying to find something. He stretches away. It is a global title again for Noah Lyles.
It's very special. It's been an incredibly hard season.
Noah Lyles just made history. He tied Usain Bolt's record with his 4th straight world title in the 200 meters. But what most people don't know is how hard his journey really was, and what he did to get here will surprise you. So let's rewind. How did Lyles rise? What did it take? And crucially, where does he go from here? Noah Lyles wasn't born a superstar. He grew up in Gainesville, Florida, and later Alexandria, Virginia. His parents, Kevin and Keisha Lyles, were both track athletes, so running was practically in his DNA. But it wasn't just about genes. Lyles was a gymnast before he was a sprinter. That early training gave him insane control over his body, balance, flexibility, and explosive power. By his teenage years, it became clear he wasn't like the others. Alongside his brother Josephus, he began turning heads in national meets. Turning pro in 2016, skipping college altogether, Lyles bet on himself. And that bet started to pay off fast. But success didn't come overnight. The transition to the professional level brought new pressure, media attention, and expectations that would have broken a lot of young athletes. Lyles, though, stayed focused. He knew what he wanted. In the early stages of his pro career, Lyles dealt with hamstring injuries that slowed his progress. But even in those moments, he stayed vocal, confident, and uniquely himself. He wasn't trying to be the next anyone, not Bolt, not Johnson, just the best version of Noah. 2019 was his breakout. At the World Championships in Doha, Lyles dominated the 200 meters final and helped the U.S. secure gold in the 4x100m relay. That first world title wasn't just a win, it was a statement. He had officially arrived.
Brilliant running by the Japanese coming through. The United States, America take it. It's silver this time for Great Britain.
Fast forward to 2022 inches Eugene. He didn't just defend his title, he ran 19.31, breaking Michael Johnson's long-standing American record. That made him the 3rd fastest man in history.
For Noah Lyles, he hates losing over 200 meters, and he's forgotten how to. 19.32!
The way he ran that race sent shockwaves through the track world. His acceleration out of the curve, the way he powered down the straight, and his celebration before the finish, it was clear he wasn't just running to win. He was running to be remembered. Then came 2023. Another title, another flag around his shoulders. At that point, he was already being mentioned as the heir to Bolt's sprinting throne. But he wasn't done. 2024 brought both triumph and heartbreak. At the Paris Olympics, Lyles finally claimed Olympic gold in the 100 meters, a race he'd been chasing for years. But in the 200 meters, where he was expected to dominate, he was forced to withdraw mid-race due to a medical issue. Cameras caught him being taken off in a wheelchair, his Olympic dreams suddenly cut short. The contrast between victory and pain was brutal, but he didn't hide from it. He spoke openly about disappointment, frustration, and how much the 200 meters title meant to him, and that's what made his comeback in 2025 even more powerful. But 2025 wasn't easy. Lyles came into the World Championships in Tokyo with pressure from all sides. Younger sprinters like Letsail Tebogo and Brian Level were hungry. Kenny Bednarek was right on his heels. In the semifinals, Lyles threw down a brutal 19.51, the fastest semi-time in history, but he saved just enough for the final. On the 19th of September 2025, the Tokyo National Stadium was electric. Lyles lined up in lane 6. The gun fired. Bednarek surged early, Tebogo held tight, but Lyles waited. Then he exploded in the final 60 meters. He crossed the line in 19.52 seconds. Bednarek clocked 19.58. Level took 3rd. As Lyles raised 4 fingers to the crowd, it wasn't just about the number. It was about history. Let's be clear, nobody had touched Usain Bolt's streak of 4 straight 200 meters world titles. Not Gatlin, not Blake, not even Michael Johnson. Bolt set that record from 2009 to 2015. So when Lyles matched it, the track world took notice. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't hype. It was dominance, sustained over half a decade. And it happened in an era of deeper fields, stricter drug testing, and tighter margins. That makes it arguably harder than what Bolt faced. The sport has evolved, and Lyles is right there leading the charge. Behind the medals, Lyles has faced real battles. After the 2021 Olympics, where he failed to win gold, he spoke publicly about dealing with depression. He even admitted he nearly quit the sport. There were also injuries, questions about his top-end speed, and critics who said he was more flash than fire. But Lyles never stopped grinding. He worked with sports psychologists, changed his diet, tightened his training, focused his brand, Slowly, the results followed. And in 2024, he won Olympic gold in the 100 meters, silencing doubters once and for all. What makes his journey so relatable is that he's never tried to pretend. He's shown the hard days, the doubts, the breakdowns, and the bounce-backs. Fans have seen him cry, celebrate, laugh, and fall. That transparency, it made people root for him. Now let's talk about comparisons. Bolt was a unicorn, 6'5", with a stride that ate up track like nothing else. His world records of 9.58 and 19.19 still stand. Lyles at 5'11 runs differently. He has to work harder for every meter. His strength is in the curve and the finish. Where Bolt was effortless, Lyles is relentless. And while Bolt was universally adored, Lyles has faced more skepticism. Maybe it's the era, maybe it's social media, but Lyles has embraced it, using every doubt as fuel. Off the track, Lyles is a different kind of star. He raps, he designs clothes, he speaks his mind. Some love it, some don't. But he's never boring. He's building more than a medal count. He's building a brand. This isn't just about golds. Lyles is trying to redefine what it means to be a sprinter today. He's open about mental health. He's vocal about athlete rights. He's building a media presence. He wants to be remembered not just for running fast, but for pushing the sport forward. And that's part of what makes this fourth title so impactful. It's not just a win, it's a legacy moment. Now the big question, can he go for 5? That's never been done. Bolt didn't do it. Nobody has. Lyles has already hinted he wants to compete through 2027 and possibly 2029. But it won't be easy. Rising stars like Tebogo, Gout, and even new U.S. talents are closing in. And the physical toll of sprinting at this level is real. Still, if anyone's poised to break the record, to not just match Bolt but pass him, it's Lyles. And what happens next could redefine track and field history. Noah Lyles just did something only one man before him had done, and that man is Usain Bolt. But here's the thing, this isn't just about tying records, it's about writing new ones. 4 straight world titles in the 200 meters, a 100 meters Olympic gold, a new American record, a voice in the sport that matters. Noah Lyles isn't the next Usain Bolt, he's the first Noah Lyles. And the world better keep watching because he's not done yet.
It's a decent start by Lyles, but not a brilliant one. Thompson's in the driving seat here, but watch Seville on the near side. It's ever so close. Seville from Thompson.
Oblique Seville just shocked the world running 9.77 to take gold in the 100 meters, leaving Noah Lyles behind. But the way he won left the world asking, how did he do it? There are moments in sport that don't just happen, they shift the balance of power. September 14th, 2025 in Tokyo was one of those nights. The men's 100-meter final wasn't just another sprint. It was the race that decided who owned sprinting's biggest crown and whether Jamaica still belongs at the summit of world athletics. Seville's run was more than fast. It was history echoing, belief returning, and a new champion being born. The men's 100 meters had been waiting for this moment. Since Bolt's retirement, Jamaica hadn't seen a world champion in the blue ribbon event. Nearly 10 years of near misses, heartbreaks, and rivals celebrating. The US, Africa, Europe, and other nations had taken turns at the top, but Jamaica, they were searching, waiting for the next man to rise. On this night, that wait ended. Oblique Seville wasn't a stranger to the spotlight. He'd been on the edge for years. 2 fourth-place finishes at the World Championships in 2022 and 2023. A crushing moment in Paris 2024 when injury ruined his shot at Olympic glory. To some, he was always the man who came close but never broke through. That reputation ended the moment the clock stopped at 9.77. What makes Seville's journey so powerful is that it wasn't smooth. He had raw talent but had to sharpen it. His early career was marked by promise, then frustration. Training under Glenn Mills, the legendary coach who guided Usain Bolt, meant expectations were sky high. Every race, every slip-up was judged. But Seville stayed the course. He battled through injuries, doubts, and the pressure of being called the next Bolt. And finally, in Tokyo, he showed he wasn't the next anything. He was the first Oblique Seville. The final itself was electric. As the runners lined up, the tension in the stadium was thick. Usain Thompson, Jamaica's other powerhouse, was seen as the favorite after running world-leading times earlier in the season. Noah Lyles, the American superstar, was confident he could add another gold to his collection. Seville stood calm, almost expressionless, as though he'd been preparing for this exact moment his entire life. The gun went off, and instantly Thompson burst out of the blocks with a ferocious start. He exploded ahead, looking every bit the favorite. Seville, however, stayed composed, running his own race. At 30 meters, Thompson still held the edge. Lyles, a notoriously slower starter, was behind but beginning to accelerate. The crowd roared, sensing a showdown was coming. Then came the shift. Around the 50-meter mark, Seville's stride lengthened, his shoulders relaxed, and his speed didn't just build, it looked effortless. Where others tensed, Seville seemed to glide. Thompson was still ahead, but not for long. With every step, Seville ate into the gap, his form smooth, his power undeniable. By 80 meters, the stadium could feel it. Seville was coming. The last 20 meters were pure poetry. Seville surged past Thompson, his body under perfect control, his face calm as if the gold was already his. Noah Lyles tried to close from behind, but it was too late. Seville leaned at the line, stopped the clock at 9.77, and delivered the biggest statement in sprinting since Bolt's retirement. The scoreboard confirmed it. Oblique Seville, world champion. Usain Thompson finished second in 9.82, still one of the fastest times of his career, but overshadowed by Seville's brilliance. Noah Lyles managed bronze in 9.89, a season's best, yet not enough to stop Jamaica's 1-2 dominance. At that moment, the stadium erupted. Flags waved, fans screamed, and the world knew. Jamaica was back. But why does 9.77 matter so much? For one, it's Seville's personal best, a time that puts him among the fastest men in history. It's not just winning, it's winning with a mark that demands respect. It also showed growth. In the past, Seville's weakness was the closing stages. He'd often fade when it mattered most. In Tokyo, that flaw became his strength. He finished stronger than anyone, running through the line with authority. And let's not forget the symbolism. This was Jamaica's first men's 100 meters world title since Bolt. Nearly a decade of searching ended in less than 10 seconds. The drought was over and a new era had begun. Bolt himself, watching from the stands, stood and applauded. It felt like a passing of the torch, not officially, but emotionally. The island that gave the world a legend has now given it another champion. Of course, rivals were part of the story too. Usain Thompson was brilliant and could easily have been champion on another day. His start was phenomenal, his drive powerful, but he lost composure in the final strides. He'll be back, hungrier than ever. Noah Lyles, always the showman, showed he's still world class. His bronze wasn't a failure, it was a reminder that he remains a force. But this night belonged to Seville. The bigger picture is Jamaica's sprint culture. For years, people doubted whether the nation could sustain its dominance without Bolt. The answer came in the form of a gold and silver sweep. Jamaica isn't just back. They're deep, stacked, and ready to rule again. This performance wasn't lucky. It was the product of coaching, discipline, and a culture that breeds speed. For Seville personally, this win rewrites his legacy. No longer the runner who almost made it, he's now the man who delivered when it mattered most. It validates every painful training session, every injury rehab, every doubt he pushed through. Winning in front of Bolt must have carried extra weight. To do it under the guidance of Glenn Mills only strengthens the symbolism. It's not just about the medal, it's about identity. Seville has stepped into the role of Jamaica's new sprint leader. What comes next will be just as fascinating. A world title changes everything. Seville will now face pressure like never before. Every race will be scrutinized. Rivals will study him, looking for weaknesses. The media will chase him. The expectation isn't just to win, it's to dominate. Can he stay healthy? Can he repeat the calm brilliance of Tokyo? Can he lower that 9.77 even further? The answers will come in time. But one thing is clear. Seville has shifted the conversation. Before Tokyo, he was seen as talented but unproven. Now, he's the man to beat. Thompson will chase him. Lyles will chase him. Young sprinters around the world will set their sights on him. That's the price of greatness. Everyone wants your crown. Still, Seville doesn't seem like the type to crack under pressure. His Tokyo run wasn't wild or desperate, it was measured, efficient, and cool. That composure is what makes him dangerous. He doesn't just run fast, he runs smart. And that's the difference between contenders and champions. The impact of this win will ripple far beyond Tokyo. In Jamaica, kids will see Seville and believe again. Coaches will use his race as proof that patience, discipline, and hard work pay off. Sponsors will line up. His face will be everywhere. He has gone from promising to iconic in less than 10 seconds. And the rest of the world? They'll be on alert. The US will regroup, Europe will push harder, Africa will rise with new talent. But tonight, all of them are looking up at one man, Oblique Seville, the new world champion. When the cameras cut to Seville after the race, his expression was calm. No wild celebration, no theatrics, just quiet confidence. That's what made it even more powerful. He looked like he belonged, like this was always the plan. And maybe it was. In the end, the 2025 World Championships men's 100-meter wasn't just a race. It was a statement, a reminder that legends inspire, but new champions rise. Oblique Seville didn't just run 9.77, he restored belief, reignited a nation, and gave sprinting a new face to fear. The crown is back in Jamaica, and the world will be watching what Oblique Seville does next.
Every year it's gotten quicker, 157 average, 156 average, and it's amazing to think that I'm hitting a 155 on not a bad day, but the weather, not so great.
Sebastian Coe, the most respected voice in athletics, calls a 17-year-old sprinter the real deal and predicts another athlete could become the greatest of all time. Sebastian Coe just sent shockwaves through the athletics world with his latest comments, and the internet can't stop talking about it. At 68 years old, Sebastian Coe has seen it all. 2 Olympic gold medals, 9 world records, and 5 decades of watching the world's best athletes compete. When he speaks, people listen. And right now, he's saying something that has everyone's attention. Coe just made 2 massive predictions that are changing how we look at the future of athletics. The first involves Keely Hodgkinson, Britain's 800-meter Olympic champion who just went through what she calls injury hell. The second focuses on Gout Gout, a 17-year-old Australian sprinter who's already being compared to Usain Bolt. Let's start with Hodgkinson's incredible story. Just months ago, her 2025 season looked completely finished. She was sitting in a car for 8 hours, traveling to Windsor Castle to receive her MBE from the King. What should have been one of the happiest days of her life turned into a nightmare when she injured her hamstring during that long car ride. Hodgkinson was devastated. She had already dealt with hamstring problems twice before, and this felt like the final blow. The Olympic champion found herself experiencing what she calls unpredictable mood swings. Some days she'd walk into training happy and motivated. Other days her teammates knew not to even talk to her. Her coaches, Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadows, were away helping other athletes on the European circuit. They were getting reports about Hodgkinson's emotional state and knew they had to do something. Painter came up with an unusual solution. He bought her a Himalayan salt lamp that was as big as my head. Hodgkinson laughed when telling the story. But it wasn't just the lamp that saved her season. Painter also convinced Nike to pay for a full-time physiotherapist. This turned out to be the game changer. The physio discovered that Hodgkinson's hamstring problems weren't actually coming from her hamstrings at all. The real issue was her back. Hodgkinson admits she's always struggled with a tight back, but as she's gotten stronger and faster, it's put more pressure on everything else. Once they fixed the back problem, everything else started falling into place. She even put on a couple of kilograms since Paris, but instead of slowing her down, it made her more powerful. After 376 days away from competition, Hodgkinson finally returned to the track in August at the Silesia Diamond League. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. She didn't just win her first race back, she ran 1 minute 54.74 seconds, the 9th fastest time in history and the best in the world this year. 4 days later in Lausanne, she proved it wasn't a fluke. Despite running in driving rain, she clocked 1 minute 55.69 seconds. The athletics world was stunned. How do you come back from a year-long injury and immediately run times that fast? Sebastian Coe was watching, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. When asked if Hodgkinson could become Britain's greatest ever athlete, Coe didn't hesitate. He said, "Yeah, she absolutely could." I have no doubt about that. Absolutely, for sure. She could end up at the top of the heap internationally if she goes on. But Coe didn't stop there. He went even further, praising what he called her mental toughness. "I've spoken to her enough times to know that mentally she's mahogany hard. She really is. She is absolutely committed to wanting to end her career top of the heap, and there's no reason why she shouldn't." The phrase mahogany hard immediately went viral. Coe was describing Hodgkinson's incredible mental strength, comparing her determination to one of the hardest woods in the world. Coming from someone who's seen legends like Carl Lewis, Michael Johnson, and Usain Bolt compete, this was huge praise. Coe also highlighted how smart Hodgkinson's return strategy was. Most athletes might have eased back into competition with one race. Hodgkinson chose to run twice in 4 days, testing whether she could handle the back-to-back racing required at major championships. Sebastian said, "What I thought was quite clever was doing 2 races back-to-back because what she was clearly testing was that thesis really." Did she have enough in the tank to go back-to-back? Which is what she's going to be asked to do in Tokyo. And the answer was clearly a resounding yes. Now, Hodgkinson is in Tokyo for the World Athletics Championships, trying to win the one major title that's escaped her. She has Olympic gold, European gold, but she's been runner-up at the last 2 World Championships. If she wins in Tokyo, she'd become the first British woman ever to win the 800-meter world title. But here's the remarkable part about Hodgkinson's mindset now. After going through what she calls injury hell, she feels completely different about pressure. Nothing could be worse than last year. That was so much pressure. I feel like I've gone above that now. I've experienced it, and I know how to deal with it. To be honest, I'm chilling. She even believes that winning in Tokyo would mean more than her Olympic gold in Paris. The challenge it took to get here would make it that much sweeter. While Hodgkinson's story is about overcoming adversity, Gout's story is about pure potential. The 17-year-old Australian has already run 9.98 seconds in the 100 meters and 19.84 in the 200 meters.